you're losing anywhere from 30 to 50% of your email list every single year, right? Which is a massive problem if you're spending any money on paid ads to build your email list and you're like wondering why the business isn't growing. It's because you're losing about half of your ad spend every single year from these two things.
Today, I am very excited to be joined by Tyler Cook. If you don't know who Tyler is, he's an email marketing strategist and founder of Hyper Media Marketing, a marketing agency that specializes in email marketing for high-ticket B2B companies. His ebook is called Instant Inbox Placement. Tyler, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to have you on. Today, Tyler and I are going to explore how to create a winning welcome email sequence. Now, before we get there, Tyler, I would love to hear your story. How in the world did you get into email marketing? Start wherever you want to start.
Yeah, so my story really starts back when I was doing door-to-door sales. And you might be asking, how in the heck does door-to-door sales have anything to do with email marketing? And it really is because I once had a manager tell me that there were only two ways to sell more because you can make a lot of money in door-to-door sales. I mean, you can make a lot of money in sales. And so I was really interested in, well, how do I make more money, right? And so this manager told me that there was two ways to sell more. The first way is simply just to close more people. And the other way is to get more sales opportunities, right? And learning to close more people is actually really hard. Like most people have this baseline level of sales performance, and it takes a lot of work getting that needle to move in a meaningful way. It's hard, right? And so I decided that I'd just get more sales opportunities. So I actually started jogging all day from door to door. I figured that was the easiest way to talk to more people, get in front of more people to sell. And that is exhausting to do if you've never done it. Jogging all day, it's exhausting, right? And so I was reading all these books on sales and I was introduced to the concept of copywriting. And the first time I was introduced to it, I got to tell you, I spent 80% of the book very, very confused because I thought they were talking about the legal concept of copywriting, right?
Right.
And so I spent 80% of that book super, super confused. And then I learned what they actually meant by copywriting, and my mind was completely blown. Just the thought that you could run an ad or send a piece of mail or send an email to millions of people and have them read it and sell them, that was crazy to me because I just spent the last year or so running from door to door just to talk to 20 or 30 more people when there was this option of just clicking a button and I could talk to hundreds or thousands or millions of people. Like that was insane to me. And so then I started studying marketing, found a job at a small marketing agency building funnels, sales funnels, lead gen funnels. Eventually became the guy that everybody else went to with questions there. So I hit my ceiling and decided to go out on my own and built an email marketing agency. And that's the long story short of how I got here.
It's funny. There was a sales guy, direct door-to-door sales guy at my door recently trying to sell me pest control. And I noticed that he had this little wheel thing. It had a single wheel on it and it had places for his feet. And I'm all, that's really smart because I'm in a new community where there's a lot of construction going on. And that allows him to go really fast from location to location, probably much faster than I would imagine he could ever jog. So just out of curiosity to unpack your story a little bit, how many years ago was it from when you were selling door to door versus beginning working for the agents, the company that you were working for, and then starting your own business?
Yeah, so I started door to door in 2014 and did that and got out of it kind of the tail end of 2017. And then started working at that small marketing agency in 2017.
And then when did you go off on your own?
Went off on my own in 2020, right before COVID. Actually, you can go back to there's a LinkedIn post that I jump in the air with my little business certificate or whatever. And I think it was like April or so, and then COVID hit. But it was, had my business then.
So bring us up to speed on kind of where you're at today with the business.
Yeah. So, with any entrepreneur journey, it's definitely not a linear path. Got started with some young clients and I was running everything for them. So I was basically filling a fractional chief marketing officer role where we were running their website. We were running all of their ads. We were running all of their funnels. I was doing website conversion optimization for them. I was doing everything for them and did that for about 2.5 years. And, two things happened. One, I wasn't charging enough. And so I was really frustrated with just the amount of work I was doing with the amount of income. And two, it was just a lot of work. So I got kind of burnt out. Right. And as I was looking at the whole marketing piece, the one piece that I really enjoyed doing, that I really excelled at and was really driving most of the revenue for all of my clients was email marketing. And so 2 years ago, I decided to scale everything back and just focus in on email marketing and running email programs at a really, really high level for high ticket B2B businesses.
So tell us a little bit about just kind of like what that entails, just so people can understand that. Then we'll get into some of the more detailed stuff that I have planned to ask you.
Yeah. So if you have ever worked in the high ticket B2B space, one of the first things is it's always mostly sales led. Like the only thing that they're hungry for is conversions, which I mean, most businesses are, but they are much more on a larger scale. And so what happens is their deliverability and their inbox placement typically sucks, to be honest, right? And so that's one of the first things that we start rehabilitating their sending domains, and we start getting their emails back into the inbox. We work with them on their sales pipelines. And so typically, they have a team of sales reps and they're hopping on calls and there's outcomes that happen from that call. Not everybody says yes immediately. And so we build all of the automations and that supporting structure to help speed up that sales velocity so that sales reps have leads that are warm, that are kind of bubbled up to them, that if somebody doesn't say yes on that call, there's a good follow-up sequence that's getting people to move through their sales funnel quickly, put in place and things like that. We help them build their list. And then we do what I call email CRO, conversion rate optimization, where there's a whole checklist of things that we're testing to drive up those conversions from the email marketing program.
Outstanding. Okay, so what we're about to talk about today is just as relevant for B2C as it is to B2B audiences. But why should marketers who are listening today focus on email welcome sequences? Because that's really what we're going to zoom in on today. What's the upside if they get this right?
Yeah, so the welcome flow is arguably your most critical flow. And the reason for that is kind of two things. One, it's the one that most of your leads will go through. And so it's going to have the highest engagement of any of your email marketing flows. Mm. And two, we know from our own internal data that we've tracked and external data that I have available supports this. Most conversions will happen within the first 48 hours of a new subscriber being generated, right? From any paid ads to organic, most conversions are going to happen within 48 hours. And if it doesn't happen then it happens months later, right? And so your welcome flow is going to be the most critical flow in helping you capitalize on that intent. And so your welcome flow has some specific goals, right? One, it's supposed to help you with your inbox placement. If done correctly, it'll make it so that your emails land in their inbox for months on end. It helps you get brand buy-in, so people are excited to read your emails. So then your subject line doesn't matter as much because they're just excited to see you in the inbox. And the third goal of it is ideally it's making you money.
Right. Outstanding. So, okay. Let's dive into the first part of your welcome sequence strategy. And for everyone who's watching or listening, we're going to go through quite a few different stages here, but we're going to start with the very first part of your welcome sequence strategy. Where do we begin?
Yeah. So to just kind of set the stage, I have somewhat of a lengthy welcome sequence because I'm also using this as a double opt-in, right? Now, you'll see some back and forth between whether or not you should use double opt-in or not. I am not a fan of the double opt-in simply because I think it weeds out really good subscribers. And so I'm actually using this 7-day email, this welcome flow as my double opt-in, where if somebody doesn't engage with any of these, I'll move them out of my marketable segment, right? And so this first part of the
Wait,
welcome,
real quick. I wanna zoom in on what you just said there. So what I heard you say is, and I'm with you. We don't use double opt-in either at Social Media Examiner because we find that a lot of people get confused by that double opt-in verification. But what I think I heard you say was that by the time someone's done with this sequence, if they have not engaged with it, you're going to move them to some other list where they're not going to be actively emailed. Now, can you define what engagement means from an email perspective?
yeah, great question. Yeah, let's clarify that. So the metrics that we're looking for, the actions that we're looking for is we're really looking for a reply to any email in the welcome flow, at least 3 of the welcome flow emails opened, or 1 click, right? So it's not a huge amount of engagement that we're looking for, but we're essentially just checking to make sure that there's a living human being on the other side of this email address that has taken some sort of action that shows intent. And if they don't pass that criteria, then you're correct. We move them to a suppression list where we do email them. It's just in a much different way than somebody who has engaged and they've kind of, passed those tests that we have for them in that welcome flow.
Perfect. All right. So presumably, and we probably should have started with this, but presumably you got this email in the first place through a number of different mechanisms. Why don't we just explore that a little bit? I'm assuming you've got some sort of a free offer or a pop-up on your website or an ad. I mean, are these the normal ways that you're collecting these kind of emails? Is that correct?
Yeah. This welcome flow definitely works best on inbound leads, not so much as cold outbound, right? Where you're scraping emails. So these emails are generated from paid ads, your organic social media content, your newsletter, if you have a newsletter, referrals, affiliates, all of those types of things.
Perfect. So, okay. So lead us through the first section, if you will, of setting up the sequence.
Yeah, so this is really the first 2 emails on the sequence. So I just wrote a LinkedIn post about this. So it's kind of top of mind for me where there's kind of this tipping point where best practices stop becoming best practices. And I think about this a lot because there's limited space in someone's email, right? Or in their inbox. And if you look at newsletter best practices, if you look at email best practices, there is a lot that has been written about what that first follow-up email really should look like. The challenge with it is that advice has gotten so popular that your first email begins to look like everybody else's, right? And so this is where the first email that I implement for a lot of my clients is different because I want contrast in the inbox because that contrast generates attention, it catches attention, right? And so the very first email that we send out, its main goal is to generate a reply. It's less than 55 words and it comes from either the CEO's executive assistant or somebody similar to that. It's got to be somebody in a position of influence in the company, but is not the CEO.
Oh, okay. Why not the CEO?
It's for that pattern interrupt, right? Nobody expects to get an email from the CEO's executive assistant that's asking for a reply.
Okay.
Right? The other thing is it seems much more realistic coming from an executive assistant because they know that the CEO is busy. They know that he's not sitting down or she's not sitting down and writing this email. But if it's coming from the executive assistant, that kind of changes things, right? It's the whole purpose of that person to review the inbox.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So this is interesting. And 55 words or less. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So the email is actually really, really, really simple. So at a high level, what it is it's just, hey, this is so-and-so, the CEO's executive assistant. I just saw that you joined our email list. Did you have any questions about core offer? It's our main priority to grow this. Hit reply and let me know what questions you have about it. And that's it, essentially.
Very intriguing. Okay, there's a million little questions going through my brain about this that I know everybody else is thinking about as well. First thing is proposed subject lines. Let's just start with that. Second thing is this from the same email address that we're sending all the others, or is it a different from address? Let's start with the subject lines.
So you want to keep the subject line very, very simple. What I like to do is first name, right? Merge the first name in, catches attention there, and then just thank you. Just a simple thank you.
Oh, okay.
Generates a lot of curiosity because they're like, thank you for what?
Yeah.
Right. So it drives the open rate there. Now, to your second question, this should be coming from the executive assistant email.
Oh,
right?
okay. All right.
So all of the replies go to them. It should be coming from them. Now, the reason for this is how deliverability and inbox placement works is typically you have your root domain, right?
Right.
Domain.com. And that has a reputation. And under that, every email address also has its own reputation. So for one of my clients, I know that when we send out a mass marketing email for him using his email address, we're typically going to get an inboxing rate as reported by Glock apps of about 85 to 95%.
Yeah. We use Glock as well. So
yeah. So you know.
Yeah.
When I send this email from his executive assistant, she gets a 99% inboxing rate. Right. So I send those emails from her.
Okay, so now there's some more questions like, wait a minute, my executive assistant has a million things going on. Should I create a separate actual email address for her? I mean, especially, or him, if I have a bazillion emails coming in? I mean, like if you're adding like 10,000 emails a month, I could see that being a problem. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So if you're driving that much volume, I definitely recommend having an alias email address that is kind of handled a little bit differently to handle and support that volume.
Right.
But if you're not at that volume, definitely have a real person there that is able to triage those. Last I checked, using this client again as an example, and I'm kind of keeping things a little bit vague because I don't have 100% permission to share.
Right.
But that welcome email drives about $45,000 of new revenue for that business every single month.
Very cool. All right, so let's get into the second part of your sequence. By the way, really unusual and creative application for the very first email. So, how long do we wait before we send the second email?
Yeah. So again, one of the main goals for the welcome flow is you want to get your emails to the inbox for months and months and months on end. So I send these every single day. So one email every single day. So they get the first email, right? Mm-hmm. The second email should come from the CEO or somebody related to the CEO. How I like to set it up is at the very end of the day. So I usually will trigger this at 4:45 p.m. And this is your expectation setting email. Now, this is your typical email that most best practices are kind of telling you to send, right? The reason I send it at the end of the day is because the very first paragraph is, hey, this is Mike at Social Media Examiner. I was just leaving the office, but I just saw that you joined our email list. So I want to stop by and say hi, right? You're not going to send that at the very beginning of the day. You're kind of making it seem like it's very personable by sending it right before you're leaving the office, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's a key part of this where you do want to set expectations. And so typically I do this in bullet pointed fashion. And the first one is the most important one. I basically want them to think I'm going to be sending them an email every 15 minutes. I want to set that expectation. Okay, maybe not quite. That was a little excessive. But I basically, in that email, say, we are a high volume email sender. Expect an email every single day from us. Okay. And I set that expectation, even though I know that I'm probably not going to be sending them an email every day. But if I anchor them to, I'm going to be getting an email from them every single day, and then I only send them an email 2 times a week or 3 times a week, it's much less likely that they're going to hit that spam button or unsubscribe because they're kind of pleasantly surprised. Wow, these guys aren't blowing up my inboxes. But if you ever do have a launch and you send multiple times a day, you've already made that expectation clear for them.
Okay. I love this. So day one, where executive assistant is sending a message asking basically if there's anything they can do to assist them. Is that right? Was that the ask of the first one?
Yep.
Is there and then day two, and be prepared to answer those emails, presumably, right? I mean, have some standard responses for those emails. Day two, something comes from the CEO, and this is kind of like the schedule it. And by the way, a lot of email service providers allow you to send it in the time zone of the recipient so that you can schedule it, to be received at the end of their day. Do you recommend doing that, or do you recommend just scheduling it at the end of my day? Does that make sense as the CEO?
So because this one is coming as if you were leaving the office, I recommend having it be your time zone instead of their time zone.
Right.
Just because, again, you're trying to play these psychological games, if you will, of
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like
Yep.
you actually just sat down right before I left the office and wrote me this email. That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Day one and day two is the first part of your strategy, right? And just kind of explain why these two emails together work so well. Again, like just give us like a 1-2 punch on why these things work well.
Yeah, great question. So again, the first goal of the welcome sequence is to get your future emails to land in their inbox for months and months and months on end, right? We're also trying to capitalize on any purchase intent as quickly as possible. And so having that reply helps people basically self-identify, yes, I was actually interested in this product. Who do I talk to? Where do I go? Right. But that reply also builds that internet highway, for lack of a better term, that it builds that internet highway. So then the next time you send them an email, Yahoo, Google, Gmail, Microsoft, they see that email come into their that subscriber's inbox and they say, oh, this person replied to this person, right? This person replied to this business. This must be a really important sender. Let's send that email to the inbox.
Yeah. And that's really important. And when you say to the inbox, you mean not to the promotions tab. That's really what we're talking about, right? And not to the spam folder. You mean to the primary kind of inbox thing, which is really important. Okay. Yep. So the second part of your sequence involves what exactly?
So the second part of the sequence involves connecting on a secondary channel and collecting relevant information from your audience, right? Okay. So email 3 is the simple email. Essentially, what we're looking to do is get people out of email marketing as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind this is, for most people, what they're doing is they're running paid ads, right? They're collecting the email address. The email address comes into their system. They're marketing to that. And that's kind of it. So what happens when that subscriber unsubscribes, right? Now you're having to pay even more money to try to retarget that person using your paid channels, right? So what if we moved them out of email marketing and connected with them on a social media channel that they're active on, so that if /when they unsubscribe, you can still get content in front of them on a consistent basis. So email 3 is all about choosing a channel that they're active on, so that 1, you're building your audience on that channel, right? And then 2, if they do unsubscribe, or they're not checking their inbox as often, or they go on vacation or whatever, but they hop on social media, you can still get your content and your offers in front of them on that consistent basis.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of social platforms out there. So what's your recommendation on which ones we ought to work with?
Yeah. So the first one, kind of the first rule of thumb that I tell all my clients is, and you're going to have to kind of use your gut on this one, because there's not a really good place for you to actually know how often they're checking social media. But you want to choose a social media platform that they're active on, checking at least twice a month, right?
Okay.
The other thing that you want to look at, and we'll get into this towards the later if we have time, is you want to have a DMing feature in there, so you can leverage further marketing tools to get your offers and content in front of them outside of email.
Okay, this is the Social Media Marketing Podcast. So I have to ask this question. Everybody would be like upset if I didn't ask this question. But what do you do when you have a lot of social platforms that you're active on? Like, for example, we've got Facebook, we've got X, we've got LinkedIn, we've got Instagram, we've got a lot. How do we know which ones we should choose? Or do we put them all in this email? Like, what does this email even sound like?
Yeah, great question. So you don't want to use them all. You want to have one clear call to action. And from testing, business pages don't work as well as personal pages. So you want to have a face. Typically, it's going to be the CEO of the company that they're connecting or following directly with.
Okay.
Right. The second piece is from working with a lot of different industries. Generally, you're going to choose Twitter or X, right? Instagram or LinkedIn. Those are typically going to be the ones that you're going to default to because they cover most audiences, right? SaaS or like technology, those types of businesses, typically you're going to do Twitter. Creative businesses, typically Instagram. B2B focused, LinkedIn.
Well, and what about if you have a huge following on Facebook? I mean, they have DMs as well, right? I would imagine. And I think they allow you to do a lot of the retargeting stuff that you might be getting to later as well. But do you find it's just not as effective because people aren't using their personal profile for business?
I typically find because people aren't using their personal profile for business, it's not quite as effective. However, with that said, I've found for older audiences, if you're targeting, 35, 40 plus, Facebook can actually be a really, really good option for you.
Okay, cool. And are we just simply in the substance of the email just saying follow us on platform X to discover other content from us, or what are we asking for exactly?
Yeah. So this one is actually what I call the fake reply, which is kind of a gray area. I'll just throw that asterisk out there. You can do your own research on the fake reply, but essentially what it is I am writing an email from the CEO to their executive assistant that basically just says, hey, assistant, I just saw that first name join the list. Can you see if we can get connected on platform? I think they'd be good to be connected there. And then CEO name. And then above that section, right, is just a little blurb from the executive assistant. So this email also comes out from the executive assistant that says, hey, subscriber, Mike saw that you just joined the list. He thought that you'd be a really good connection on LinkedIn. You mind giving him a quick connection request here? Here's the link. And then it's done. Right. So it looks like the CEO was like, I want to be connected with this person.
Okay.
Interesting. And then it comes from the executive assistant.
Okay. Very interesting. All right. So I believe that is the second part of your strategy, which is really connecting on this secondary channel. And the third part of your strategy, I think you might have already alluded to what it was, which I believe is a survey. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yep. So the third part is what I call the new subscriber survey. So there's a couple of goals with new subscriber surveys. And the reason you want to do this quickly, early on in the welcome flow, is because you're going to have less resistance for people giving you information. Right. You can usually ask for actually quite a bit of information right at the very beginning because they're okay giving it to you, versus if you do it 90 days later, there's a bit more built-in resistance there. And so we typically will send anywhere from 5 to 8 questions. We usually see a drop off around that 8th question. And the goals of the survey are threefold. So there's 3 types of questions that we're going to put on the survey. So the first is all going to be about content, right? We want to make sure, let me rephrase that.
Is it content preferences? Is that really what we're talking about here, or something different?
One of the biggest challenges with emails is sending relevant emails.
Right.
Right. And so the idea here is we want to ask about content interests and preferences so that we can get a good idea on what emails can we send that are going to be relevant to this subscriber.
Okay.
Right. The second piece is advertising efficiency. Right. So this is where we're going to be asking, how did you hear about us? How did you find us? Are there any communities or associations that you're a part of?
Okay.
And because, people hang around people that are similar to them. And so if we get, 50% of our subscribers who fill this out that say, yeah, I'm part of this Facebook group. Well, you should start showing up there because it's likely that there's more of your audience hiding there, right? So if you start showing up there and providing value, they're going to join your email list and you can convert them. So we're looking for, to create that advertising efficiency. Where are they spending their time online? Where if we just showed up there, we could probably get more leads, right? And then the last set of questions is around buying stage. I want to know how close you are to purchasing if you haven't already. So then I can also tailor content to where you're at within that buying stage.
Now, I'm assuming that if you have a pretty sophisticated email system, and we use Drip, I know others listening use ConvertKit, you could take some of that data and funnel it right back into your email system and tag people with appropriate interests. Is that essentially what we're doing here in some of these cases, or no?
Yep. So on the back end, what we're doing is we are tagging content interest or updating fields, right? And then for the advertising efficiency, those are usually open-ended questions. So you have to kind of manually review those, but we typically export that to like a Google Sheet so that we can watch trends pretty easily. And then the last piece for buying stage is we actually do automation triggers off of that, right? So if they're essentially answering those questions in a way that say, I'm ready to buy, we're hitting them hard in a sales sequence very, very quickly. We're stopping the rest of the welcome flow and we're moving them to a sales sequence. If they are, earlier top of funnel type, I was just looking for some free resources type things, then we continue them through the welcome flow and we move them into more of that nurture sequence. Maybe move them into something like like an email course, like a 5-day email course, to try to move them through that buying stage.
What technology are you using to actually do the survey to allow it to integrate back into the email service provider?
Ideally, your email platform has a form builder in there. These don't have to be pretty forms. They do not have to be pretty.
I see. So these are almost like forms that you would have on a page with just a bunch of questions on the front of them. And those forms typically would live on your website or something like that with an embed code. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yep, exactly. Embed it onto your website. That way you can do some retargeting if you have pixels on there. They don't have to be pretty. The call to action is just give us this information, right? And that way you don't have to spend hours trying to design this nice sales page when really it's just, you just need to answer these.
So give us a little context on how to get someone to open and click on an email like this. How might you compose something like this?
Yeah. So the subject line that I typically like to use is, I don't want you to hate me. That seems to get really good responses.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then how we position it is basically, hey, we know you get dozens, if not hundreds of emails. You archive or delete most of them. We don't want to be included in that stat for you. We want you to choose your own adventure with us. And the only way we can do that is if you give us some information about you and tell us what is relevant to you. Can you choose your adventure here and let us know? And it's really that simple.
What do you think the completion rate is on an email like this? Click to survey.
Yeah. So from the data that we're tracking, we're typically getting anywhere from a 10 to 15% click through and an 80% completion.
Wow. That's really cool. Okay. So, what's the next part of your email sequence? We've covered the first 4 emails, which is, step 1, get a reply. Step 2, come up with an email related to, from the CEO, setting expectations. Email number 3 is figuring out how to connect on a secondary channel like social media. Email number 4 is your new subscriber survey. What's next?
Yeah. So the next set are the next 2 emails, so emails 5 and 6. These are essentially your soft sells. And so how we position these is email number 5 is usually like social proof and kind of overcoming objections, if you will. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we're just inserting video testimonials. If we have screenshots of testimonials, all of those types of things. If some of my clients are using Trustpilot, we'll include Trustpilot testimonials, just anything to build social proof. And then we have the soft call to action of, if it's worked for all of these people, our products or services will work for you. Here's how to move forward. Schedule a call, click here to buy, those types of things. The next email after that is frequently asked questions that people will have, and then also overcoming additional objections.
Very cool. Okay. A couple questions here. So if you are sending a newsletter, do you still follow this sequence? And do you repress the sending of the newsletter until after you've completed the sequence? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah. So to answer your second question first, yes. When somebody is inside of the welcome flow, we have a tag is typically how we'll do it, that removes them from any of the other marketing activities, because I want them focused on kind of like doing the goals that we have here. Right.
Got it.
Now, in answer to your second question, it kind of depends on what you mean by newsletter. So if it's a newsletter business where the newsletter is the product, there are things that we would change where, if the newsletter is the product, we'll typically change email 5 to generating referrals. You basically need more eyeballs, right? You need more subscribers.
Ooh.
And so email 5 and 6 become all around how do you use your existing audience to get access to a new audience for free.
Got it. Got it. I love it. Okay. Email 7, which is the next part of your strategy. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this one is, and I get a lot of pushback from clients on this email because it seems like pretty bold. It seems like you're drawing a line in the sand. But the idea behind this is they're about to get released into the wild of your CRM, right? And we really want our future emails to land in their inbox. And so this last email is really just designed to prompt any sort of reply before we let them out of like the structured flow. And so this is and the reason I get pushback on it is because it seems pretty bold, but the idea is no-oriented questions, right? So, first of all, this is a subject line hack. So, star this, notate this. But no-oriented questions are really, really, really powerful. So where I developed this concept of no-oriented questions is actually from the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. If you've ever listened to it or read it, you'll be familiar with it. If you haven't listened to it, highly recommend it. But the idea is that in negotiations, you'll hear oftentimes like you want to get yeses. Ask 3 questions that are designed for the prospect to say yes before you go in for the close, and it's much more likely that they'll say yes, right? Well, Chris Voss was the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI for like 25 years. And what he found in all of his negotiations, that there's a lot of power in asking no-oriented questions. So questions.
Just to be clear, we're talking about questions designed to get a no. That's really what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly. Questions that are specifically formulated to get a no response.
Okay.
Because when somebody says no, they feel like they're in control. They feel powerful, right? Like I am making the decisions here. Mm-hmm. And so when you ask a question that is designed to get a no response in your emails, people have that same kind of emotional response. Like they're not offended, but they're not offended, if you will. Or they're very intrigued, or they're like, who are you to assume this thing about me? Right.
So what do we give us an example? Like this is hard to wrap my brain around.
Yeah. So a few ones, and this example is given in the book, Never Split the Difference. But a good example is, have you given up? Mm-hmm. Now, I like to keep it really broad like that, because then there's this element of curiosity that your subscribers will have of, have I given up on what? Right. And so then they open up the email and they read it. Another really good one that I found is, are you satisfied? Mm. Right. That one's a really good one. Another really good one is, are you happy? Right.
So these are, just to be clear, we're talking about subject lines right here, right? But once they open that subject line, what kind of message is inside that email?
Yeah, great question. So at the tail end of this, essentially, they may have taken action, they may have not. Like we're not analyzing the data thoroughly enough at this point to know. And so essentially how I position this, and if I was using this subject line, like, have you given up, for example, how I would position this is, hey, subscriber name, it looks like you haven't taken action on this thing so far related to the core product, right? It looks like you haven't taken action yet. So I just have to ask, as the CEO, have you given up on this? If not, just hit reply and let me know. And that's it, right?
Okay, so hold on a second. So I want to process this a little bit with you. So for example, if I take my own business, my primary product is Social Media Marketing World. And if I was, I could see if they have not purchased a ticket already, right? So I could send a message like this that says like, have you given up? And the subject line could be something along the lines of, I see you haven't yet secured your ticket to Social Media Marketing World. If you're not interested, just go ahead and, well, what's the call to action on something like that?
Yeah. So you still want to reference the have you given up, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, it looks like you haven't checked out or reserved your ticket or secured your ticket for, Social Media World, Social Media Examiner World, right?
Social Media Marketing World. Yeah.
Social Media Marketing World. Sorry. If you haven't given up, could you please reply and tell me so? Right.
I see. Okay.
Looking forward to your reply, Mike. So it's very simple. But you want to reference the have you given up, right?
I see.
If you're using a subject line, to use that example again of like, are you satisfied? Right. So subject line, are you satisfied? Hey, subscriber name, it's Mike here. As the CEO, I just have to ask, are you satisfied with the results you're getting from social media because you haven't reserved your ticket yet for Social Media Marketing World?
Got it. Okay. Got it. So you're trying to get them to say, yes, they're not satisfied. But where I'm struggling a little bit is, how am I getting them to say a no? You know what I mean? I'm like connecting the dots between, is the goal to get them to respond and say, no, I'm not satisfied, or no, or yes, I am satisfied. That's where I'm a little confused.
The goal is to get them to say, no, I'm not satisfied. Here's the reason why. I'm going to go check out tickets right now. Or no, I haven't given up. I've just been really, really busy, and there's been budget cuts at the company, but I'm going to go look at tickets right now.
Got it. Okay. So just to be clear, and I'm glad I asked that clarifying question, we're asking a question that we hope most of our audience would say no to in the first place. That's really what I'm hearing you say, right? And the hope is that some people will respond to this. And the reason why we ask this question is not just to get them to reply, but to also move them further down the sales funnel. Yes? No?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So you want to tie that subject line into, I've noticed you haven't taken action, whatever that is. I noticed you haven't booked a call for this. I noticed you haven't clicked. You haven't done this next best thing. So I have to ask, have you, or are you, X?
Got it. So. Okay, cool. Earlier in the sequence, you mentioned about following on social, right? Follow me on this social platform. And you also mentioned you're going to have people unsubscribe. So how do we use social media to recover unsubscribed or bounces or whatever else might happen with our newsletter / email process?
Sure. So first, we need to understand some generic stats around email lists, right? For the reason why this strategy makes 110% sense and why you want to implement it for your business. So most email lists are going to decay, just normal decay, around 15 to 25%. So this is what I mean by that is you're going to lose email addresses to job changes, right? Somebody moves jobs, they no longer have the email that they subscribed to your list with. And so now you're emailing them, but it's never going to be delivered, right? Another one is going to be people get overwhelmed with their inboxes, and it doesn't take any effort to start a new email. Right? Just fresh, clean slate. And so people are going to stop using the email address that they gave you, and they're going to move into a new one. Right? There's also going to be, just people stopping checking their email address for a period of time. So they go on vacation, they go on sabbatical. For whatever reason, they stop using their inbox for a period of time. And so their email starts soft bouncing. Right? For whatever reason, your list will kind of decay for on average about 15 to 25%. And that's just from like daily activities. there's a whole other type of list decay, which I call engagement decay, of people who just aren't interested in hearing from you, but they don't do anything. They just archive your emails. They don't unsubscribe. Maybe they've created a list or a folder that automatically routes your emails out of their inbox into this folder, and they just never check that folder, right? So there's like this engagement decay that happens that's also about 15 to 25% of your list. So on average, and this is what most people don't realize about their email list, is on average, you're losing anywhere from 30 to 50% of your email list every single year, right? Which is a massive problem if you're spending any money on paid ads to build your email list and you're like wondering why the business isn't growing. It's because you're losing about half of your ad spend every single year from these two things, right? And so I sat down a little while ago and was like, okay, how can you solve this problem? How can you decrease this just list attrition, right? And so this is where connecting on that second channel really comes into play. So it goes back to, you want to connect on that secondary channel, and there's two rules that I have, right? One, you want a channel that your audience is checking at least twice a month, and two, it needs a DMing feature, right? The third rule, and this is part of the reason why business pages don't work as well, and you want to use a person, is because in your ESP, and a lot of ESPs, not every ESP can you do this, but in a lot, like HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, anything like that, you can build automations off of email bounces. And so what I do for a lot of my clients is we'll set up an automation that says, if email bounces, right, remove them from active marketing, create a task to reach out to them on that social media platform that you connected on, right? That's why the DMing feature is important. And in the B2B space, right, we'll typically use LinkedIn. So I'll use that as an example. The message that we send is very, very simple. It's just, hey, first name, I've been trying to send you an email. Looks like it hasn't been delivered. Is email still a good email address for you?
I see. Okay, cool.
Very simple. And you're going to get one of three replies. You're going to get no response, which is fine. Like, you're not getting a response out of their email anyway. Two, you're going to get a new email address, and they're going to follow up with, what have you been trying to send me? So now you're in a conversation with them. You're building brand affinity, right? Now they're going to go back to their inbox and they're going to say, great, Mike's emailing me again. I've been missing him in my inbox, right? Or three, you're going to get a confirmation of their email address, and they're going to also ask you what you've been trying to send them.
Interesting. How in the world do you manage something like that? Because that sounds like management nightmare.
Yeah. So there's kind of a couple of different ways that you can do this. So first, if you have a team, right, you can get the team to do this for you.
I see.
Right. The other way is we've hacked together using like ManyChat, or if you're on like Go High Level, you can actually send DMs on certain platforms through their platform.
I see.
So you can hack together using Zapier or Make, and then these tools that allow for DMing. You can hack together that piece to have it happen automatically. The only manual process is typically uploading that list of contacts, because we have in our SOPs to review those domains and make sure it's not something like, they put in gmail.co instead of gmail.com.
Right. Very cool. Wow. Tyler, this has been really creative and unusual discussion we've had. If people want to learn more about you, what's your preferred social platform for them to connect with you on? And then also, if they want to learn more about the business, where do you want to send them?
Yeah. So first, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's my bread and butter right there. I post really consistently about my thoughts on email marketing and how to leverage email marketing. So go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn. And then if you want the entire outline of the welcome flow, just head over to my website, and there's going to be a pop-up on my website where you can opt in. And I basically give you everything. So I give you the email templates. I give you the visual structure of the flow. I give you the timing of it. Essentially everything you would need to build the exact system. Or, if you're e-commerce, there's a few modifications. If you're a newsletter company, there's a few modifications that we talked about. But you can have access to the whole system just by opting in off that pop-up.
Well, and tell everybody you're Tyler Cook on LinkedIn. I'm assuming there's not a lot of Tyler Cooks on LinkedIn, but where do you want? What's the website you want them to go to?
Yeah, just https://hypermediamarketing.net.
Perfect. Tyler, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.